Just get some stability there. There we go. This start of a series of videos will explore the Major Arcana from the first card, which we see here today, to the last card, and potentially slightly longer length, but we'll just sort of see how it goes. Each card will be what it will be, and hopefully I can utilize as many different tarot decks as possible, because they all bring different elements and insights into focus. So this is the Hush Tarot by Jeremy Hush, which is beautiful in so many ways. We can speak at length and still be lost. So sometimes less is more at times, and the beauty of tarot and art is that it can speak to us in ways deeper than words can reach, deeper through symbolism, through awareness and understanding that doesn't necessarily need to be verbalized or over-rationalized. The intellectual mind, the mind above that a lot of us live in, is a wonderful tool that can help us in certain ways, but the subconscious mind, the deeper layers of being, of understanding, are oftentimes ways where we can receive messages and gain insight and understanding about ourselves, because ultimately tarot is a tool for self-understanding, a tool to help enrich in one's being in relation to specifically I would say in relation to self, because self is the point of relation to everything else. So from that flows the rest. In this deck there is a lot of animal symbolism. The concepts around that are that awareness that we are informed by nature, we are a part of nature. Nature has wisdom to guide us. For us, our unique perspective as beings of observers are able to watch, listen, learn, observe, understand, and see parts of self within the wider networks around us, our ecosystem. Not just humans. Like, the human world can be often very messy. It's not the ideal realization of, I think, who we wish to be a lot of the times, but it's a process working out on the individual level as well as the collective level. So with all that said, I will journey to the beginning, being zero, oftentimes placed at the start, sometimes placed at the end of the whole tarot deck, because again the symbolism of zeros and the Fool is it's an odd one, because oftentimes it has a double element to it. The circle is complete in self, but within that circle there is naught else. So the Fool, oftentimes beginnings, endings, can be symbolism of that, but oftentimes more so it's the embodiment of an energy of the need for a journey, the inquisitive nature, the desire aspect of being, the striving, the wanting to figure things out, explore things, express things, understand things. And here it's wonderfully represented by two different lots of animal symbolism: the ferret and moths, which I'll say personally I have a very strong tie and connection to moths, and I think they're exquisite. Majority of the world over, they make up the larger part of the family, and excuse me if I pronounce it wrong. I think it's Leopodistria or Pedestra, something along those lines, but that's the family of moths, butterflies, those lovely winged insects. And statistics or percentage wise in that family, roughly the world over, it's the high 90s, 93+% of that family is made up by moths. Yet everybody celebrates. Not everybody, but the butterfly catches a lot more attention and respect and reverence, it seems. But for those that know and see otherwise, they know the beauty of moths and their roles. And so, returning to that particular animal symbolism and its concepts within relation to the fool, uh, we have very, very beautiful creatures that play, that dance, that move, that going places, dart, zip zap, swirl, spiral. They're on missions. Like, whether we understand that or not, they're definitely on missions, and so much pollination in forests and in nature happens via moths. They're very, very talented in that particular regard. So a part of, strangely, their mission can be to feed of a flower to gain their own sustenance for being, but also to transfer that from one place to another, to share it. And oftentimes that can be an aspect of the journey. And they do it because they do it, because it's in their nature to do it. These are some of the positive aspects. At the same time, in, let's say, artificial or dangerous environments, or aspects of danger, misdirection, consequences to one's choices of action. The moth, we know, spirals around a light, goes into the flame. Plenty of times using candles myself, the insects, especially moths, come in, and it's like popcorn. They go when all their juices cook inside them. Yeah, it's a reality. They will be preyed upon. They are food to something, and they are within realms of their own intelligence, but at the same time, within that intelligence and boldness and desire for movement, there's risk. There's always risk involved. And essentially the fool is that desire to break outside of the safe, the known, and have an adventure, because that is part of our nature, part of our being. If there was no leaving the safe, the confines, the known, there would be no growth, there would be no understanding, there would be no movement. The still point of the circle is a great place to draw strength from, but it doesn't make things happen so much. It's a part of the process of making things happen, but we need to embody our experience, our inquisitiveness, our nature, our desires, and both of these animals do that. Ferrets are known to be very inquisitive, but at the same time prone to distraction. Distraction oftentimes can be very much so, especially in the animal world, death. Yeah, we're talking about some survival instincts like that overwrit by inquisitiveness, distraction, are very costly, and this happens in all aspects of nature. So there's there's much to this particular card as well, and the best kind of points of advice around it are to just be mindful. I mean, definitely relish in the desires of adventure, understanding, having a life, exploring, experimenting, going after things, learning. But at the same time, recognize there's consequences for one's action, that what one does in this realm will have effects. And that the world isn't, like, I'm not sorry to say it, but the world isn't, your best friend who's who is never going to do you wrong in your eyes. Like, that's not the nature of this place. As much as we might want to idealize it, there will be forces we will come into contact with. There will be many chances and choices we have to make. And essentially, on other levels, there's no right or wrong, there's no good or bad, but bringing it to the personal level, there's desirable more so and desirable less so within this, and the responsibility is on self to figure out what they are within self, but also within the context of the world around us as well, and they're not mutually exclusive to each other. Like they inform each other. They are part of the dance of life, of beingness. So this is the Fool, and there are other connections as well sometimes in different systems to, let's say, the trickster god. Let's say the Fool in the play, Harlequin, or whatever the comedic role. Oftentimes that can be a representation of the Fool. And as much as that serves a time and a point and a process and gets attention and can be quite a exciting role for us to play or embody, or a genuine part of our being, there is a slight edge to that in the person who never takes himself seriously or life seriously, that you miss out on some stuff. You may get the laughs, you may get the this, you may get the that. But if that is a mode or role that one falls into to the expense of others, that's a really dangerous place to be. It can be, I should say. I'd like to mention, let's just say, Robin Williams, Jim Carrey, like beings that fulfill aspects of that role of the Fool as an entertainer for others, a spectacle, bringing joy, bringing mirth. If that becomes the totality, and there is an awareness of other energies within self, within pressures, within, the bind that can be created by being stuck or static within a place, which funnily enough is embodied by the circle, the bind, we can neglect areas of self, and any area of self that is neglected and not tended to or not worked with has potential for great damage. And we see this sometimes with beings that may outwardly look on the surface to be full of joy and light and spreading all these things, and then in the papers, well, okay, you're no longer with us. Wow. So mindful of that aspect of the Fool as well, whether it be within self or with beings around you, because, hey, that's, a being that dies, any being that dies is a part of us. And it happens and has to happen, that they will, but there's a weight. There's a weight always with any death, and a ripple from that, and I am quite aware of that in some ways, and know that while some escape, those of us down here still have stuff to work through in those situations. So, yeah. So this is a beautiful, wonderful, 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 lovely deck full of animal symbolism. I was gonna possibly just finish with a little lovely joy I get just from the name of the author, Jeremy Hush. Now, I'm not sure how familiar, dear viewer, you may be with music, but Pearl Jam have a song called Jeremy, and it's about Jeremy spoke in class today. So I find it very amusing. This is by an artist and wanderer who has a deep connection with nature more so than the human world. It's a different language. And sometimes finding our voice within the human world can be a difficult experience for many and can lead to certain quite heavy outcomes in that process. If anybody's aware of that, what that particular song is about a being who finally spoke in a classroom, but they spoke with a gun rather than their voice. Now, silence has its place. quietness has its place, gentleness has its place, and so do our voices. So does your voice. And what you speak is a form of magic. And it's valuable. So, be mindful of that in some regards. Know that there's a power there. Know that it's worthwhile. Know that it's part of helping create this realm, helping create and inform one's own experience, and others as well. Yeah. So, a pleasure to share that this morning, and I look forward to the next video, which will be card number 1. Cheers. Thank you.